Imagine you are a woman 50,000 years ago and you can feel it. The baby is coming. There is no hospital, no doctor, no painkillers, no sterile room, just dirt, darkness, and the sound of wolves circling outside. Your tribe knows what this means. Half the women who go through this moment never come back. And the ones who survive, they survive because of a system so brutal, so precise, that modern doctors are only now beginning to understand it. Most people assume ancient childbirth was pure chaos, a woman screaming alone in the wilderness while everything went wrong, but they're wrong. What scientists discovered when they examined ancient birth sites completely shattered that assumption, because ancient humans didn't just stumble through childbirth. They had cracked a biological code that kept our species alive for tens of thousands of years, and without it, you wouldn't be here today. But before we get to that, we need to talk about the most dangerous moment in human history. Not war, not famine, not predators, birth. Think about what your body is actually doing. A skull the size of a grapefruit forcing itself through an opening designed for something half that size. The human baby has the largest head relative to the birth canal of any species on Earth. Biologists call this the obstetric dilemma. It is the reason human childbirth is the most dangerous of any primate on the planet. A chimpanzee gives birth alone, silently, in minutes. A human female, she needs hours, she needs help, she physically cannot do it alone. And 50,000 years ago, that biological reality created something extraordinary. Scientists studying ancient birth patterns made a discovery that stunned the medical community. Ancient human females almost never gave birth alone. Every tribe, every culture, every prehistoric group examined showed the same pattern. There was always someone there, a helper, a guide, a woman who had survived this before. Researchers call her the first doula, but what she actually was the most important person in the entire tribe. Because here's what nobody talks about. If the mother dies, the baby almost certainly dies too. If the baby dies, the tribe loses its future. In a group of only 20 or 30 people, one failed birth wasn't just a tragedy, it was a statistical catastrophe. So ancient tribes did something that sounds shockingly modern. They built a system around birth, and that system was terrifying in its precision. The moment labor began, the entire tribe shifted. Men were removed from the area immediately, not out of tradition, out of survival logic. Male presence raises cortisol in laboring females, stress hormones, slow contractions. In a world where a delayed birth meant death, removing that stress variable was life or death knowledge. The experienced women moved in. They had memorized positions, techniques, pressure points that modern midwives have only recently rediscovered. They knew exactly how to rotate the baby. They knew which herbs boiled in water would slow dangerous bleeding. They knew how to read a woman's breathing to predict complications before they happened. But here's the part that will disturb you. They also knew when to make the impossible choice. If the birth was going catastrophically wrong, if the baby was positioned in a way that would kill the mother, ancient tribes made a decision that no modern doctor can make without legal consequences. They chose the mother every time. Because without the mother, the tribe had nothing. No milk, no warmth, no knowledge. Ancient humans understood triage before the word existed. Scientists found evidence of this in skeletal remains across multiple continents. Infant bones found beside adult female skeletons showing signs of traumatic birth. The mothers survived, the infants did not, and the tribes continued. If you're finding this disturbing, subscribe now, because what scientists discovered next about ancient birth practices completely changed what we thought we knew about prehistoric medicine. Most people assume ancient humans had no real understanding of biology. They think our ancestors were just guessing, hoping, praying, but they're wrong. When archaeologists excavated prehistoric campsites dating back 40,000 years, they found something impossible beside ancient birth areas: specific plants. Carefully selected, brought from miles away, not random plants, not food, medicine, blue cohosh, raspberry yarrow. Plants that modern pharmacology has now confirmed trigger uterine contractions, control bleeding, and reduce infection. Ancient women weren't guessing which plants to use. They had accumulated thousands of years of precise biological knowledge, passed directly from woman to woman. This was not primitive guessing. This was a pharmaceutical system older than writing itself, but the danger didn't end when the baby arrived. In fact, that's when a completely different nightmare began. Think about this. A newborn human is the most helpless creature in the animal kingdom. A baby horse stands within an hour. A baby dolphin swims immediately. A human infant cannot hold its own head up for months. This meant that in the ancient world, a newborn was a target. Predators could smell fresh blood from miles away. The sounds of a crying infant were a dinner bell for every apex predator in the region. So ancient humans developed something that modern parents instinctively still do without understanding why. Skin-to-skin contact. Immediately, always. Ancient mothers held their newborns directly against their bodies for the first weeks of life. Not for emotional bonding, though that happened too, for thermal regulation, for immune transfer, for cortisol suppression. A newborn separated from its mother's skin experiences a biological panic response that raises stress hormones, slows organ development, and increases infant mortality dramatically. Ancient humans didn't know the science, but they observed the outcome. Babies held close survived. Babies left alone died, and that observation became tribal law. But there was one final threat that no amount of herbal medicine or skin contact could fully solve: infection. The same open wound logic that made a cut dangerous in the ancient world made childbirth an infection event of catastrophic proportions. Modern medicine calls it puerperal fever. It killed millions of women throughout history, even into the 1800s. Even inside hospitals with trained doctors. Ancient humans faced this threat with nothing but fire and instinct, and yet they survived it. Archaeologists discovered that ancient birth areas showed consistent evidence of fire, not for warmth, not for light, for sterilization. Ancient women burned specific resins and woods whose smoke has now been scientifically confirmed to have antimicrobial properties. They didn't know what bacteria was. They didn't understand infection. But they had watched enough women die after birth to know that smoke, heat, and specific burning materials kept the darkness away. They were sterilizing birth environments with fire tens of thousands of years before Joseph Lister invented antiseptic surgery in 1865. That is not luck. That is accumulated human intelligence operating at a level we still struggle to fully respect. Here's the truth that gets buried in every history class you ever sat through. Ancient women were not helpless victims of biology. They were the most sophisticated medical practitioners on the planet for tens of thousands of years. They kept our species alive through the most dangerous biological event in human existence, using nothing but knowledge, observation, and each other. Every time a modern hospital uses skin-to-skin contact, delayed cord clamping, or specific birthing positions that ease the obstetric dilemma, they are rediscovering techniques that prehistoric women had already mastered. We didn't invent modern birth, we forgot ancient birth, and then slowly, painfully, we remembered it. Your existence is proof that the system worked. Somewhere in your direct ancestral line, a woman survived something that should have killed her. A woman in the dirt, in the dark, surrounded by predators, held together by other women who refused to let her die. That chain of survival never broke, not once, not in 300,000 years of human history. And that is the most extraordinary